It's Monday, May 10th, and this is now on HNN.
Get there a little earlier and be patient.
The state prepares to roll out its inter-island vaccine passport.
It is a new process.
New at noon, some lawmakers are urging airlines to make flight credits valid indefinitely.
The Biden administration is pressing forward, touting the state of the economy despite some new criticism. I'm Skyler Henry at the White House, where the president is also trying to persuade more lawmakers to buy into his multi-trillion-dollar jobs and families plans.
Our economic plan is working.
These stories, plus the 2022 Golden Globes, are canceled on NBC. We'll tell you why coming up on This Is Now.
We begin with breaking news. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration has expanded emergency use authorization for Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine to include kids 12 to 15 years old. This is the first COVID-19 vaccine in the United States authorized for use in younger teens and adolescents. The vaccine had previously been authorized for people age 16 and older. COVID-19 vaccines from Moderna and J&J are authorized for use in people 18 and older.
Everyone, good afternoon. Thank you so much for watching. This is Now. Ashley and Jonathan here. The latest coronavirus numbers from the state. The state is reporting 61 new cases today and no new fatalities. We'll have that breakdown by island for you on your HNN digital platforms. Meanwhile, the state's inter-island vaccine passport begins tomorrow, making travel between the islands much easier for those who are fully vaccinated. We got an update from Governor Ige about the program in the last hour. Here's what he had to say.
Actually, the website was up on Friday, so I do know that there has been people getting on, entering their information, so that that would really facilitate their travel. And one of the things that the Safe Travels program will do is that it will capture that information so that if they are traveling inter-county, they would be able to travel without quarantine for the foreseeable future.
So if you have the actual vaccine card, you can't just show that when you go to the airport.
Well, we certainly would encourage everyone to bring their card with them to the airport. We know that sometimes people have had trouble entering the information in the Safe Travels program. So there will be people at the airport to help those who are unable to get through the Safe Travels program enter the information.
Are you expecting any, as with any new process, there's lines there, it just seems to be cumbersome at first.
Yeah.
Do you expect any of that?
We do expect some of that, so I certainly would encourage everyone who is traveling and plan to take the vaccine exception to get there a little earlier and be patient.
So let's break down exactly how this passport program works. Inter-island travelers will be allowed to bypass a pre-travel test and quarantine with proof of vaccination. Fully vaccinated means at least 15 days have passed since your final dose. You must upload the documents to the state's Safe Travels site, and you also have to bring your CDC vaccination card with you while traveling. Anyone found with a fake card faces up to a year in jail and a $5,000 fine. A couple of other reminders: kids 5 and younger do not need to take a pre-travel test, but those 6 and up who have not been vaccinated will still have to test. The state is looking to expand this passport program to trans-Pacific travel later this summer. Speaking of, more than 64,000 visitors flew to Hawaii this weekend, 21,000 on Friday, nearly 25,000 on Saturday, and almost 18,000 yesterday. Keep in mind, these numbers mostly include mainland travelers. Hawaii has not seen many visitors from Japan since the pandemic started. With these numbers showing a continued return of tourism to Hawaii, we wanted to play out what Lieutenant Governor Josh Green had to say about the state of the state's economy and the state's pandemic response.
A couple things that have become clear to me. The Hawaii brand is almost indestructible, and we're better off than almost anywhere else as far as a visitor economy goes. That's one. But two, there are some challenges. A lot of employers are having a hard time finding workers, and trying to get them back has been difficult. So that's a challenge. There just was there were a lot of people that decided to leave the workforce, and we haven't yet found them. That has to change. We have to bring everyone back to work. And some small businesses really suffered. But yes, in the aggregate, we are in extraordinarily good shape, given where a lot of the rest of the country is. We're now the number one state for vaccinations of 18 years old plus. We're number one. And our rate is it's well over 70% for people getting their first shot for 18 and over. That means within 3 weeks, all of those individuals practically will have their full complement of immunity. It's a big deal. So I'm really happy about that. And we're adding 15-year-olds and down to 12 to 15-year-olds in about a week. That'll be an option for people. That's another 55,000 Hawaii citizens, young citizens. People will have to decide whether they want to vaccinate their youngster, but we have a 14-year-old in Maui will get vaccinated for sure. So these are all just really normal things. People are used to getting vaccinated. Young people are used to getting vaccinated, actually, to get their routine shots. This is going to be part of the routine. So I think that this time next year, people will have begun to forget how challenging 2020 was. And the first part of 2021 was not easy either, but we're really coming through it well.
Do you still have credit with an airline for a flight you had scheduled before the pandemic? Well, at least 2 lawmakers think you should get a refund. Democratic U.S. Senators Ed Markey and Richard Blumenthal are sending a letter to 10 airlines asking them to issue refunds to people who want them. Air travelers are thought to hold up to $15 billion in credits due to flights they canceled during the pandemic. Airlines are required to issue refunds when they cancel flights, but not when passengers cancel their reservations. In those instances, they generally issue credits instead. Some airlines have extended when passengers can use their flight credits into next year, but others have expiration dates that are coming soon. Markey and Blumenthal say the very least airlines can do is to drop expiration dates from those credits. Though the federal government deregulated air travel decades ago, the senators point out taxpayers have spent more than $50 billion bailing out the air industry over the past year. A couple of viewers welcomed Hawaiian Airlines' offer to let them rebook their COVID-canceled travel, but when they tried to do it, phone lines were jammed, wait times over an hour, sometimes way over. Hawaiian Airlines confirmed the problem and says it anticipated this, but the surge in rebookings started sooner and the volume is greater than expected. Hawaiian says it's hiring and training more than 100 new agents to respond to this, but training takes time. And with more on the airline industry's comeback, here's Errol Barnett.
Wonderful news for the travel industry, but even better news if you're a mother, whether you're an MOM, a mum, or you're like me, you have a MUM, a mum. This was a wonderful weekend for you because it was the busiest travel weekend we've seen since the beginning of the pandemic. More than 1.7 million passengers were screened at TSA checkpoints on Friday. That's the highest number we've seen since March 12th of 2020. This is all part of a steady rise we're seeing now, alongside vaccination numbers ticking up. But while the tourism industry is poised for a comeback, it is not without some major challenges. Norwegian Cruise Lines is now threatening to pull its ships from Florida's ports after Governor Ron DeSantis signed a law banning businesses from requiring a proof of vaccination from their customers. Norwegian says that law contradicts federal guidelines that would allow ships to return to U.S. waters as soon as July, so long as most passengers and crew are fully vaccinated, which is what Norwegian plans to do. The cruise line says it is still in contact with Governor DeSantis' office to avoid this fight and hopefully get back to business, but it's just one more example of how uneasy certain places are as we try to get back to some sense of normal.
Dr. Anthony Fauci says he's open to relaxing those indoor mask guidelines.
But yes, we do need to start being more liberal as we get more people vaccinated. As you get more people vaccinated, the number of cases per day will absolutely go down. We're averaging about 43,000 a day. We've got to get it much, much lower than that. When that gets lower, the risk of any infection, indoor or outdoor, diminishes dramatically.
The current CDC guidelines say fully vaccinated people should still wear masks in indoor public spaces. President Biden just made comments on the economy following last week's lackluster jobs report. Here's Skylar Henry with much more on that.
President Joe Biden addressed the state of the economy after last week's jobs report showed slower than expected growth.
Our economic plan is working. I never said, and no serious analyst ever suggested, that climbing out of the deep, deep hole our economy was in would be simple.
The Treasury Department announced the launch of a $350 billion effort to get emergency funding to state and local governments as part of the American Rescue Plan.
The money we're distributing, going to be distributing now, is going to make it possible for an awful lot of educators, first responders, sanitation workers to go back to work.
The president also pushed back against criticism that Americans are refusing to work because of enhanced unemployment benefits.
We'll insist that the law is followed with respect to benefits, but we're not going to turn our backs on our fellow Americans.
The president's push for his $4 trillion infrastructure and families plans is expected to intensify this week, with Congress returning to Washington. Today, the president is hosting two Senate Democrats at the White House, Delaware's Tom Carper and West Virginia moderate Joe Manchin. Wednesday, President Biden will host the top House and Senate party leaders.
The jobs plan will be a part of it. They'll also discuss a range of issues and a range of items on the agenda.
Over the weekend, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell signaled his willingness to support an infrastructure package with a price tag of $600 to $800 billion. That's slightly higher than the $568 billion counteroffer put forward by a group of moderate Senate Republicans. Skylar Henry, CBS News, the White House.
COVID restrictions in Maui County have loosened. Starting today, social gatherings of up to 10 people are now allowed. Restaurants and bars can stay open an hour later to 11 p.m. and group sizes at bars have also been bumped up to 10. Retail occupancy goes from 30 to 50%, and rugby and football practice are allowed outdoors. Games, however, are still off limits. Fewer people are setting up appointments for a COVID vaccine. Sammy Selena has more on what's being done to make it easier for people to get a shot.
As vaccine demand slows, health officials say that residents are taking the opportunity to show preference of one over the other. The Times clinical pharmacy manager said they administer Johnson & Johnson and Moderna. Since the 10-day pause of J&J, demand for that particular vaccine has slowed down.
But I would say that there is more of a trend towards getting the Moderna at the moment versus the Johnson & Johnson. Although with both vaccines, there has been a decline in interest.
But it is true that there is some decreases in the amount of individuals that are coming in, but that's also because there's increasing amounts of locations where individuals can get vaccine.
Across the state, we're seeing more efforts to bring the vaccine directly to residents through mobile clinics, like at Oahu's high schools.
We know that many times the high school or the school in the local community is a trusted source of information and other services. And so we're finding that going to the high schools may be a good idea.
Health officials want to urge residents to sign up now before the FDA approves the vaccine for those 12 and up. Sammy Selena for This Is Now.
And it ended up being just a gorgeous weekend, weather-wise, for Mother's Day, right?
Yes.
Let's take you live outside, looking out over the harbor there. And I'm hearing we're in store for much of the same conditions. We're talking beautiful weather. That's good to hear, right, Guy Huggy?
How's it on this Monday? We've got beautiful trade wind weather on tap for the next several days. That does include some windward and Mocha showers, mainly for those early morning and overnight hours. Leeward side's not expecting a whole lot of rain anytime soon. So the trade is running at moderate speeds already, and they'll be running at moderate speeds for the rest of the work week, expected to get stronger probably over the weekend. So what we see today is what we're going to see for the rest of the week. Some beautiful stuff. A few showers to start the day, lots of sunshine for leeward sides, high temperatures running into the mid to lower 80s. Now, as far as the surf, we have some fun size surf pretty much island wide. A little bit of a boost is expected for the South Shores sometime around Wednesday, so watch for that. Otherwise, we're in for a nice long run of trade wind weather. And again, the trade winds will run at moderate speeds through Friday, getting slightly stronger on Saturday. There's also a chance for a few more showers when the winds pick up. Keep it here on Hawaii News Now. We'll have all your severe weather updates.
Now to a new reality many families are facing when it comes to their pocketbook. Prices on everyday essentials like milk, eggs, even coffee are on the rise. But it's not just food seeing the increase. Here's Carrie Sanders.
This year, those homemade Mother's Day brunches weren't only served with love, but likely a bigger grocery bill. Compared to last March, coffee is now an average of $4.67, up 8%. Eggs up 7%. Bacon and bread both up 11%. Chicken up 10%. Sarah Grabsky is a mom of 2 girls with another baby on the way. She says her grocery bill has steadily increased the last year.
It ranges anywhere from $20 to $50 more expensive probably than 6 months ago, which when you're making a few trips each week, that adds up.
The Grabsky family is lucky. They have a way to cut corners. Yeah. They get meat and dairy products from their farm in Erie, Pennsylvania. But recent price hikes on other essential items have forced Sarah and her husband to take a second look at their budget.
We've had to rework some of our finances. I have been planning dinners differently.
The higher costs of raw materials, shipping delays, and gas hikes have led some of the nation's largest product manufacturers to raise prices. Procter & Gamble, which makes Pampers and Tampax, says customers will see up to a 9% increase on its baby and feminine care products. Coca-Cola and General Mills both say the cost of their products will also go up. But according to experts, the savvy shopper can still find ways to cut a growing bill.
Use store brands. They're often produced in the same factories as the national brands that you're familiar with, and they are a whole heck of a lot cheaper.
Unfortunately, the price hikes don't stop at the store. If you are working from home, those long Zoom meetings aren't the only thing making your power bill go up. The price of electricity has risen 3% since last spring, a shock to consumers nationwide, with summer just around the corner.
I'm certainly seeing those price increases for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And one thing the pandemic did show me, and I never did before, and it's only because I had the time to do it, is using those coupons.
Oh,
like,
very good,
even
Jonathan.
at Safeway. I remember last year when they were doing the little Monopoly game, one time I saved them all up and I got $70 in savings.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty good, right?
That's amazing.
All right, that's my rant on coupon cutting, but let's get to some entertainment news, because after decades, NBC will not be airing the Golden Globe Awards next year. Monday, that's today, the network announced it would not carry the show due to controversy surrounding the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. So if you haven't heard, that's the non-profit responsible for putting on the Golden Globes. Some of the issues NBC cited, along with a bunch of other productions, are associations with the lack of diversity and some ethical issues and financial benefits, like where the hotels are using for members, things like that. And for similar reasons, like I said, other media outlets like Netflix and Warner Media are not participating in this year's Golden Globe events either. NBC says it's open to airing it in 2023 if the Hollywood Foreign Press Association fixes the problem. And we saw this with many award shows over the past years, with the lack of diversity really becoming a hot topic, even in the Oscars and other awards like that.
Yeah.
So
with the nominees especially, but I know with the foreign press, just the organization itself doesn't have a lot of diversity.
Yeah, I think it said that there was 0 African American
Right.
members on like something like a 90-something advisory panel.
Right.
So, yeah.
Interesting.
All right, more entertainment stuff.
Yeah, so Oprah Winfrey and Prince Harry, they're getting ready to debut their multi-part documentary series this month. Now, Apple TV Plus announced its series, The Me You Can't See, will premiere on May 21st. Now, the Duke of Sussex and Winfrey are co-creators and executive producers on the project. The two will guide discussions about mental health and emotional well-being on the series. They will also open up about their own struggles with mental health. Celebrities and public figures are slated to make an appearance on The Me You Can't See, including Lady Gaga and Glenn Close.
All right, and then news of a mega yacht being purchased by one of the richest person in the world, right?
So Jeff Bezos, he may soon be spending more time on the open seas, and that's because he reportedly is in the process of buying a 417-foot super yacht. Now, according to Bloomberg, the boat is so big, it has a support yacht with a helipad. Now, the price tag on the vessel is $500 million. That doesn't include the support yacht, Jonathan. And although most people, they can't even think of affording anything that expensive, Bezos can cover it easily. So Amazon stock, which is much of his income, rocketed up 75% during the pandemic. So he brought in $75 billion last year.
And that reminds me, there's a very cool yacht that's been parked out off of Ward. For at least it was there last week. It was a pretty big one, not what we're talking about there.
Right.
But if you ever pass by there, oftentimes you will get to see some really cool yacht action. I've seen one with a helipad before, and I've also seen one with like this garage door that opens in the back of the yacht and like jet skis come out the back.
Oh my goodness.
It's very cool stuff. All right. Also cool stuff, and a big woo! That Chinese rocket that was hurling towards Earth. We were talking about it last week a lot. Well, it landed in the Indian Ocean with no destruction. We got Janice Mackey-Frere with the update on exactly what went down over the weekend.
This morning, a sigh of relief around the globe as remnants of that out-of-control Chinese rocket are now scattered in the Indian Ocean. U.S. Space Command confirming it re-entered the atmosphere over the Arabian Peninsula. This video appearing to show it flying over Jordan. Chinese space officials, who until Sunday had said nothing about the 23-ton core, put the point of impact here, just west of the Maldives.
The danger is over. We were lucky. There was no damage to property. There were no injuries, but it could have gone the other way.
China says, as expected, most of the debris burned up on re-entry. But even the slight possibility it could have hit a populated area had the world on alert for days.
We don't have a plan to shoot the rocket down.
Experts seeing it all as a gamble. And in a rare rebuke, NASA Administrator Bill Nelson, a former astronaut, accused China of failing to meet responsible standards. The Long March 5B launched the main module of China's space station on April 29th. Unlike most rockets where boosters fall quickly to Earth, this 10-story core went all the way into orbit.
This really is an outlier that this particular rocket has an issue that really needs to be addressed.
State media here didn't give much attention to this latest rocket saga, and global concerns were dismissed as Western hype. China is pouring billions into its space ambitions, to the moon, to Mars, to the space station it's now building. So these concerns about falling Chinese space debris are not likely to go away. China has another 10 launches planned before the end of next year. Janice Mackey-Frere, NBC News, Beijing.
I was watching that closely, like so many of you.
Yeah, I mean, that map they showed, that was kind of close to the Maldives.
Yeah, it was scary.
Yeah.
But good news, really good news that we could not do the show without mentioning.
I know. So what an incredible accomplishment. The UH men's volleyball team won the national championship on Saturday. If you didn't see the game, they beat rival BYU in convincing fashion in straight sets. Now, UH has always been a volleyball powerhouse, so it is surprising for, casual fans to learn that they've only won one national championship. Congrats to them.
Yes, and I love seeing them put that national title, Hawaii, under that bracket there. There was a little video for our podcast listeners after this celebration on the court. Yep, they just stick that sticker there, and it is just a sign of what they really deserve.
Yeah, this team has been so fun to watch all season.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for This Is Now on this Monday. Yep, we got a whole week ahead of us, so Ashley and I will be back here tomorrow. Ashley's actually going to be back here on KHNL at first at 4. And don't forget, if you ever miss This Is Now, just find us on our podcast. You can find it anywhere you download those podcasts. Have a great day.
See ya.